So, what could an empty egg carton and a computer crash possibly have in common? I know, it sounds like the setup for a really bad joke, right? But the answer is actually a number, or maybe it's more of an idea, that is so powerful it literally underpins our entire digital world. Yeah, let's dive in.
Oh yeah, I'm sure you've seen this before. Our old friend, the 0x00x0 error. It's like your computer just hits a brick wall. You know the feeling. Your work vanishes, everything freezes, and you're just staring at this cryptic message. But what if I told you that it's not just gibberish? It's actually a clue.
So what is your computer really trying to tell you with this thing? Because believe it or not, this isn't just some random glitch. Nope, it's a message. And it connects directly to the fundamental laws of mathematics, and even the very idea of nothingness itself.
All right, first things first. Let's take a closer look at that error code on your screen. Think of us as detectives, okay? We're going to figure out what's causing this digital SOS.
Okay, so when you look at the potential causes, it's kind of all over the place, right? You've got corrupted system files, failed Windows updates, programs that didn't install right, driver problems, even malware. The 0x0 error isn't pointing to one single thing. It's more like the computer's generic alarm bell, the one that goes off when something fundamental has gone really wrong.
But here's the thing. All of these very different technical problems, they all boil down to one simple, powerful idea. Just picture it. Your computer's operating system is reaching out its little digital hand for a super important file it needs to run, and it grabs nothing. Air. It's finding absolutely nothing. And that concept, the idea of nothing, that's the key. Let's hang on to that thought.
So, we kind of get the why now. It's looking for something and finding nothing. But what about the what? Let's actually crack this code. What does 0x0 literally mean in computer speak?
Well, the key to understanding this is a system called hexadecimal. Now don't worry, it sounds more complicated than it is. Think about it like this. Our normal number system, the one we use every day, is called decimal. It has 10 digits, right? 0 through 9. Well, hexadecimal is just an expanded version that has 16 digits. It uses 0 through 9, and then it just keeps going with the letters A through F. And that little 0x you see at the beginning, that's just a signpost. It's the computer's way of saying, hey, the number coming up next is written in hexadecimal.
And here's what that actually looks like in practice. Our number 10 in hexadecimal becomes A. The number 15 becomes F. So what about plain old 0? You guessed it. In the hexadecimal system, it's written as 0x0.
So yeah, after all that talk about hexadecimal and computer code, the big dramatic reveal is this. The error 0x00 is literally just the computer's way of saying 0. 0. That's it. It's not some super complex equation. It's the simplest number imaginable, just said twice.
But wait, why 0? Why is that the number it uses? Well, because in the world of programming, 0 isn't just a number. It's way more important than that. It's often used to stand in for the concept of null, which basically means a value that's absent, or empty, or just unknown. It's the programmer's special symbol for that nothing we were talking about just a minute ago.
And you know, this idea of 0 meaning nothing, that's not just some computer trick. It's a deep concept that programmers borrowed directly from the world of pure mathematics, which actually leads us to a little riddle, something you definitely learned the answer to back in grade school, but I bet you never really stopped to question it.
We all know this one by heart, right? 5 times 0 is 0. 1,000,000 times 0 is 0. Any number times 0 is 0. It's just the fact of life, something we totally take for granted. But have you ever actually stopped and asked, why? Why does multiplying something by nothing always give you nothing?
Well, of course, mathematicians have a proof for this, and it's really beautiful and elegant. Let's walk through it real quick. So you start with a simple truth that nobody can argue with. 0 is the same as 0 plus 0. Okay, makes sense. Now let's multiply both sides of that equation by any random number. We'll just call it x. Now there's this rule in math called the distributive property, and using that, we can expand the right side of the equation. So now we have x times 0 equals x times 0 times plus x times 0. You see what's happening here? We've got the same thing on both sides. So if we just subtract x times 0 from both sides, we're left with the final answer, 0 equals x times 0. It's like a perfect little logic puzzle. Okay, now if that formal proof felt a little too abstract, let's think about it with eggs. This makes it super clear. Imagine 3 times 0 is like having 3 empty egg cartons. You have 3 cartons, sure, but each one has 0 eggs in it. So, how many eggs do you have in total? 0. Nothing. It doesn't matter how many empty cartons you have, you're still going to have no eggs.
You know, this whole idea of visualizing math, of really understanding the why behind the rules, just like we did with the egg cartons, it's actually at the heart of a huge shift in how math is being taught these days. It's all about moving beyond just memorizing a bunch of steps.
Yeah, a lot of schools are now using this method called the area model. And it's a big departure from the old school long multiplication that a lot of us probably grew up with, where you're just following steps and carrying the one without really knowing why. This new model is designed to give you a much deeper, more intuitive feel for how numbers really work together.
So let's give it a whirl. Take a look at this. 35 times 27. How would you solve that without a calculator? I mean, for most of us, we'd probably reach for a pen and paper and start doing it the traditional way. But check this out.
Okay, so here's how the area model works. First, you break the numbers down into easier chunks. So 35 becomes 30 plus 5, and 27 becomes 20 plus 7. Easy enough. Next, you just draw a simple 2x2 grid. Now for the fun part, you just multiply to fill in the boxes. So 20 times 30 is 600. 20 times 5, that's 100. Down below, 7 times 30 is 210, and finally, 7 times 5 is 35. And for the last step, you just add those 4 numbers up. 600 plus 100 plus 210 plus 35, and you get 945. See? No complicated carrying, just simple multiplication and then adding it all up at the end.
So why bother learning math this way? Well, look at that first point on the slide. It makes the distributive property visible. You can actually see it. And hey, that's the exact same rule we used in that fancy mathematical proof about 0 a few minutes ago. So this isn't just some neat party trick, it's building a real foundation. It connects arithmetic to geometry, and it even gets you ready for more advanced stuff like algebra. It's all about understanding the math, not just memorizing the steps.
Okay, so we've been on quite a journey here, haven't we? We started with a frustrating computer error, went through a pure mathematical proof, and ended up in a modern classroom. So now, let's bring it all home. Let's tie all these different threads together.
Let's rewind all the way back to the beginning. Remember? That 0xx error happens because Windows fails to access a really important file it needs to be able to run. And this is the big connection. That computer crash is a perfect real-world example of our math lesson. Think about it. The system is trying to perform an operation, but one of its key ingredients is missing. It is finding nothing. In a way, the computer is trying to multiply by 0. And the result? The whole system just grinds to a halt.
And this idea, it gets even bigger and more fundamental. In higher mathematics, there's this concept called the empty set. It's literally what it sounds like, a set or a container with absolutely nothing inside it. And one of the core laws of set theory is that when you combine any other set with the empty set, the result is, you guessed it, the empty set. It is the exact same principle we've seen this whole time, from our computer crash to our empty egg cartons, just dressed up in the language of pure logic.
So when you think about it, we've gone from a frustrating computer error all the way to a universal law of mathematics. And it shows us that 0 isn't just a digit you write down. It's the idea of absence, the concept of emptiness. And that idea is so powerful, so fundamental, that it shapes the computers we use every single day and the very structure of logic itself. Which really just leaves us with one final big question. Is 0 just another number, or could it be the single most important idea in the entire world?